ladies and gentlemen, here they are, ready to entertain you for the next 45 minutes, Beck and Donald.
Come get your gear in order, boys, we're bound across the ocean. Heave away, me joys, heave away. Come get your gear in order, for we're bound to sail tomorrow. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Sometimes we're bound for Liverpool, more times we're bound for Spain. Heave away, me joys, heave away. This time we're bound for St. John's Town to watch the girls a dance and heave away. Me jolly boys, we're all bound away. I wrote me love a letter and I sealed it with a kiss. Heave away, me joys, heave away. I wrote me love a letter, I was sailing on and Jane. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Sometimes we're bound for Liverpool, more times we're bound for Spain. Heave away, me joys, heave away. This time we're bound for St. John's Town to watch the girls a dance and heave away. Me jolly boys, we're all bound away. So farewell Maggie darling, I am bound away to leave you. Heave away, me joys, heave away. I promised I would marry you, but how I did deceive you. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Sometimes we're bound for Liverpool, more times we're bound for Spain. Heave away, me joys, heave away. This time we're bound for St. John's Town to watch the girls a dance and heave away. Me jolly boys, we're all bound away. I've sailed on board the clipper ships, I've sailed in one or two. Heave away, me joys, heave away. I've sailed on board the Liza Swan and likewise Kangaroo. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Sometimes we're bound for Liverpool, more times we're bound for Spain. Heave away, me jollies, heave away. This time we're bound for St. John's Town to watch the girls a dance and heave away. Me jolly boys, we're all bound away. So get your gear in order, boys, we're bound across the ocean. Heave away, me jollies, heave away. Come get your gear in order, for we're bound to sail tomorrow. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away. Heave away, me jolly boys, we're all bound away.
Thank you very much. We pull up anchors and go out into the wild blue to start this set. Oh, I've got a bit of a high frequency thing going on here, Dave. Yes, what a pleasure it is to be back at NEURUM Creek.
To see the family once again.
Yeah. Donald and I haven't played on this stage together, I think, since 2016. Yeah, it's been a little while. A few things have happened since then. And it was quite funny though. At backstage, there was a diary sitting on the table. I'm not sure whose it was, but it said 2016 on it. I thought, as time just stood still. Here we are, back in 2016. Well, we're going to take you to Scotland. This little song comes from around 1642. The year, not the time. It is a little story of a woman called Maggie Lauder who meets a piper along the road. And first of all, she's not so sure about him, tells him where to go. But then it transpires that actually he's a wonderful piper and she is an
excellent dancer.
Fabulous dancer. And really, they were born for each other. And this is our take on it anyway. This is called Maggie Lauder.
Maggie Lauder, a piper met her, con the pipe and speared the paws they caught her. Right scornfully she answered him,
Big on your helm shaker, jog on your gate, you blood escape, my name is Maggie Lauder.
Maggie go he and buy my bags, and fetch in vain to see thee. Come sit by me, my bonny bird, and draw the wen a steal thee. I am a piper by my trade, my name is Rob the Ranter, and the lassie's life was thought off when I blow up me chanter.
Piper she had ye lads and lay drums in order.
pipe safe through we speed about the drawn seats was stood meg up on a wall of call the green for Roy could she risk it well done could he
Way up pushing.
well book robbed the ranter tis worth my while to play indeed when I sick a dancer
Well, hey, you played hard, your cheeks like the crimson. There's nail in Scotland, played Squill since we lost Tabby Simpson. I've lived a life but faded life is 10 years and a quarter. In years she gained 2 weights to Bearsby for Maggie Lauder. And wow,
would not be in love with bonny Maggie Lauder. She proved the true and fierce the wife as ever came frae Einster. For up in money Maggie's bride until the cut they ranted. He played the oldest sneak of life and Mary Maggie vaunted. We're going to continue in Scotland with a song about another piper. But this one was calling clans to a hunt. You know, they organised these things during the Troubles and especially the Jacobite Rebellion, where they weren't discussing politics, no, they were out hunting the deer. And this is the song about one wee gathering up in the hills near Loch Tay. I don't know what you would call it because it's not a village because it's too small. It's almost like a large farm. Just a couple of cottages, you know, and a wee place called Amerley. And this is the call to the Jacobites in 1745 from the Piper of Dundee. Brand new from o'er the seas, then he gave his bags a squeeze and played another key. And no wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. And no wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. He played the welcome o'er the men and ye's be foo and I's be fain, loyal Stuart's back again wi' muckle mirth and glee. He played the kirk, he played the quail, the mullendew, the Chevalier lang awa, but welcome here sae sweet and bonny. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. Now some had swords and some had nane, and some were dancing mad the lane. Mony a vow war was ta'en that night at Amerley. There was Tully, Bard and Burley, Struan, Keith and Ogilvy, brave Carnegie, Wabatee, the piper o' Dundee. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie, wasn't he a rogie, the piper o' Dundee. The piper cam' to Eurton, to Eurton, to Everton, the piper came to Eurton and he played on the way. The piper came to Eurton, to Eurton, to Eurton. The piper came to Eurton and he played on the way. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie? He wasn't he a rogie, the piper wrote indeed. And wasn't he a rogie, a rogie, a rogie? Wasn't he a rogie, the piper wrote indeed. So we're staying with the Highland theme, and we're going to get a wee song that's a sort of a lament. I don't know, maybe for the people of Scotland itself, following the outcome of the rebellions.
It's a song called Highland Harry. Harry was a gallant gay for stately stray on the plain. Now he's banished for a while, now we'll see him back again. Oh, for him back again, oh, for him back again. I'd give on all Kismis land for pale and Harry back again. When all the labour's in their bed, I wonder Dowie up the glen, sip me down and greet my fill, how I wish him back again. Oh, for him back again, oh, for him back again. I'd be on all Casmi's land for Highland Harry back again. If all the villains were hanged high and not nobody had his aim, I might see the joyful sight of Highland Harry back again. Oh, for him back again, oh, for him back again. I'd give on all Casmi's land for Highland Harry back again. My Harry was a gallant gay for stately stray on the plain. Now he's banished for a war, and now we'll see him back again. Oh, for him back again, oh, for him back again. And he on all Casmi's land for Highland Harry back again. Oh, for him back again, oh, for him back again. And he on all Casmi's land for Highland Harry back again.
Good.
So a wee song from up in the northeast of Scotland. One of the verses talks about the harbour of refuge after the great storm of, I think it was 1860 or something like that, where all the fishing fleets from the east coast of Great Britain were decimated in a storm. They decided they needed a refuge where all the fishing fleets could go to when bad weather came up, so they wouldn't be lost at sea. They had somewhere to run to. It took them so long to build that harbour that they had invented radar and could detect when the storms were present, and therefore they no longer needed the harbour. The other story, I don't know whether this one's true, tells of the Battle of Alma, where the Russians were defending in the Crimea, and they were warned that the main attack would come from the kilties, the Scots troops who were wearing the kilts. Unbeknownst to them, it was the 51st Highland Division, I think, who wore the trews, and so they didn't bother, you know, sounding the alarm because they thought it was just a feint when the non-kilted soldiers came up the hill, and hence they lost the battle. But this one's got a good wee chorus.
But you're welcome to join in.
And it's tatties and herring, so that's potatoes and fish.
Fish and chips, basically.
Yeah. Oh, ye Scots working men, you're gone crazy, ye fear. Every day ye mun hae your bit beef and your beer. Never ken ye the new, though you'll soon come to learning that your natural food is but tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, your natural food is but tatties and herring. Way up under now we keep enough you'll content, for you've I got 10 shillings for clothes and for rent. 160 lay by that you went to be spearing, I and 7 and 6pence for tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, and 7 and 6pence for tatties and herring. When the Queen wants some soldiers to fecht wi' her foes, it's no to the roast beef devourer she goes, but awa to the north mongst the brave and the daring, to the lads that were brought up on tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, to the lads that were brought up on tatties and herring. And on Alma's height now the Rushians said they were ready to take wise o' the gilt and the plaid, but they never came, but they soon came to learning 'twas the lads that were brought up on tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, 'tis the lads that were brought up on tatties and herring. When the Hairborough refuge was first spoke about, Aberdeen and Steinhive they were fair knocked out. When they heard that the convicts were getting best faring, we get bucking tatties and Peterhead herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, wicked bucking tatties and Peterhead herring. Oh, ye Scots working men, you're gone crazy, ye fear. Every day ye man hae your bit beef and your beer, but you'll never ken, though you'll soon come to learning that your natural food is but tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, your natural food is but tatties and herring. Tatties and herring, tatties and herring, your natural food is but tatties and herring.
I know, we've got to that age. Donald just said, oh, I've got a tune, but I've got the wrong glasses on. Oh my goodness.
Forgot to change them after the rehearsal.
Although this way you can see the crowd rather than
yes, that's true. Hi Mal, right at the front.
We're waiting for this in tune.
I'll do mine as well. I'm going to sing a little song that I wrote a few years ago, following on slightly from the nautical theme. It is in English.
What were you saying? Are you suggesting that Broad Scots in English? I would agree.
Well, this is a little song I wrote a few years ago now. I used to go to an amazing festival called Winter Moon. Well, we used to go to an amazing festival called Winter Moon. Is there any people from Wintermead here today? A few people have been. Beautiful, beautiful festival. I don't think we've actually been for 10 years now. We might have to remedy that. You think? The years are passing by. But there was one particular trip before I met Donald.
Can't imagine it here.
when a bunch of us went up and back from the Sunshine Coast to Wintermoon in a bus. It was quite an adventure, especially when they hadn't sealed it properly and half of us kind of passed out by the noxious poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning. Were you on that trip? You went on there, were you, Alan? Evie was there. We did it with Yvonne. Alan's sister from Ireland came on that particular trip. They took the smart way, but they didn't have the adventures that we had. But one of the people who was on there was a wonderful friend of ours called Richard Carr. And Richard and I, on the way back down from the festival, we were lying out. And we stopped at Gin Gin, I think, at the just the overnight stop there. And we were lying and looking at the stars. And Richard had been a sailor, and he was telling me a bit about celestial navigation, the topic of which I knew absolutely nothing about. And I still know virtually nothing about it. But it was enough to inspire this song. So this one's for Richard, who sadly isn't with us anymore. This is called Sail Away, Lullaby. Your way, being guided by the stars. And do you think if you tried, you could let yourself go to be carried on the tide? Well, I have never been at sea, but I felt the rock and roll of the stormy nights that love can bring, and the calming of the soul. Do you think if you tried, you could unfurl your sails? Oh, let them catch the wind. And do you think if you tried, you could steer with your heart in the direction of home? There are moments I have seen you lost, but I know you can be found when you sing your songs into the night and you bathe within It's a bit dry up here.
So back to Scotland. Another love song. This is a song that is called The Praise of Balquhidder. It's written by Robert Tannahill, the Paisley poet. He was round at the...
It's just pointing out Donald's lovely Paisley. Donald's birthplace, by the way.
Yes, the Paisley poet. He was born around the time of the Industrial Revolution, where Paisley and the surrounds was a hive of mills creating Paisley shawls. And but a lot of his songs were about the wonders and beauties of nature, and this love song sort of mentions that, going into the hills to fetch flowers for the true love and such likes. You'll recognise some of the words because in the 60s, that's the 1960s.
You might recognise some of the words.
It is Scots, yeah. It's English, it is hybrid. I'll let my translator translate that. Where was I? Yes, it was taken to Ireland in the 1960s, and the McKAY family transmogrified it. Is that the word? Into the better known song, The Wild Mountain Time, Will You Go Lassie Go. But this is the original. This is The Praise of Balquhidder. Will you go, lassie, go to the braes of Balquhidder, where the blaeberries grow, among the bloomin' heather, the deer and the rae, lightly bounding together, sport the lang summer's day, among the braes of Balquhidder. When the rude wintry wind elfly raves around the dwelling, and the roar of the linn on the night breeze is swelling, merrily we'll sing as the storm rattles doors, till the deer shilling ring to the light lilting chorus. Will you go, lassie, go to the braes of Balquhidder, where the blaeberries grow, among the bloomin' heather, the deer and the rae, lightly banding together, sport the lang summer's day, among the braes of Balquhidder. I'll twine thee a bower by yon clear crystal fountain, aye, and on it I will pile the flowers o' the mountain. Now range through the wild and the deep glens so dreary, return we must spoil to the bower o' my dearie. Will you go, lassie, go to the braes of Balquhidder, where the blaeberries grow, among the bloomin' heather, the deer and the rae, lightly bounding together, sport the lang summer's day, among the braes of Balquhidder. When summer's in its prime and the flowers are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain time all the moorlands perfuming, to our native land let us journey home together, where the innocence it reigns, among the braes of Balquhidder. Will you go, lassie, go to the braes of Balquhidder, where the blaeberries grow, among the bloomin' heather, the deer and the rae, lightly bounding together, sport the lang summer's day, among the braes of Balquhidder. Will you go, lassie, go to the braes of Balquhidder, where the blaeberries grow, among the bloomin' heather, the deer and the rae, lightly bounding together, sport the lang summer's day, among the braes of Balquhidder, among the braes of Balquhidder.
I was just about to say, that song appears on our most recent CD, released in 2016, up the back. The CD is called Over Burns and Braes, and it even has an etching of the Braes of Balquhidder on the front.
Which came as a complete and utter coincidence. I was surfing online looking for an etching that befitted the front of this particular album, and ordered one
Online from an antique dealer somewhere.
somewhere in America, and he had misinterpreted the scroll that was the Gothic scroll that was on the bottom of the etching, and it turned out that it was Loch Voil, one of the lochs in the Praise of Balquhidder.
So it was a lovely coincidence to have a picture of the Braes of Balquhidder on the front. When we visited in 2018, we actually went to Loch Voil. We made a little pilgrimage out to Loch Voil and to see the Braes of Balquhidder.
Balquhidder itself.
And Balquhidder itself, apparently. We went through Balquhidder. I don't remember that bit. I had a 6-month-old baby at the time, so some of the details are a little sketchy. But it was a lovely trip nonetheless. I'm going to sing you a song now that's not on the album. This is a song that I keep getting drawn to these days, and it was written by an Englishman called Rob Johnson, and I learnt it from the singing of Roy Bailey many years ago, and it feels very fitting. I've changed some of the, for those of you familiar with the song, I've changed some of the words in verse 2, so just to look out for those, just to make it a little bit more fitting for Australia's current situation. But unfortunately, the rest of the song is sadly very relevant, even I think a good 30, 40 years since it was written. I'm going to stand up. This is a song called More Than Enough. There's always the money for missiles and tanks, always the money for generals and banks, always the money for new ways to kill, but a limited budget for you when you're ill. There's always enough for a war, but there's never enough for the poor. There's always the money for tunnels and roads, for football and stadiums, but not jobs and homes. Always for MPs' expenses and fat subsidies, and never the money for universities. And the well-off, they always want more, so there's never enough for the poor. There's always the money for tests they can pass, or fail you for not being white middle class. Always the goodies for those with most greed, but never the budget for those in most need. There's a pay rise if you're on the board, but there's never enough for the poor. Consider how little of life that we know. We give nothing, take nothing, pass through and go. All of us poor when it comes to the night, in need of the darkness, in need of the light. If we learn to want less and love more, there'd be enough for the poor. Yes, if we learn to want less and love more, there'd be enough for the poor. 'Cause there's more than enough for us all.
Well, since 2016, a lot has happened, and this next song has been off our repertoire for the past, what's it, 3 years now?
3, yeah.
You know, because of
The content.
the content of the song and of the COVID.
The COVID.
Because when the past 3 years we've not been allowed to hug, and this song is all about hugging.
Hurrah!
Dr. Dan's a friendly man, he's big and round as a bear. Now he hugs his friends and they hug him anytime, anywhere. The patients come for therapy to drive the blues away. And sooner or later they'll feel better when they hear Dan say, Dan says, join in. I wanna hug, when you say hello. I wanna hug, when it's time to go. I wanna hug, 'cause everyone knows that hugging is good for you. I wanna hug, it's a wonderful feeling. I wanna hug, for it helps away the healing. Wanna hug, 'cause hugging feels like the natural thing to do. Now the doctor of the hospital, he heard about this and he was most annoyed. He said hugging is sexual sublimation, according to Dr. Freud. You can tie them up, you can hold them down, you can calm them with your drugs. You can slap them, you can zap them with electric shocks, but you can't give them a hug, Dan said. I wanna hug, when you say hello. I wanna hug, when it's time to go. I wanna hug, 'cause everyone knows that hugging is good for you. I wanna hug, it's a wonderful feeling. I wanna hug, for it helps away the healing. Wanna hug, 'cause hugging feels like the natural thing to do. Well, I'm sorry, Dan, but you have to go, for the hugging is no good. Any deviation from the medical practice could lead to us being sued. Now, Dan doesn't feel too sorry for himself. In fact, he feels quite proud. But he feels sorry for those people locked away where hugging is not allowed. Dan says, I wanna hug, when you say hello. I wanna hug, when it's time to go. I wanna hug, 'cause everyone knows that hugging is good for you. I wanna hug, it's a wonderful feeling. I wanna hug, for it helps away the healing. Wanna hug, 'cause hugging feels like the natural thing to do. I wanna hug, when you say hello. I wanna hug, when it's time to go. I wanna hug, 'cause everyone knows that hugging is good for you. I wanna hug, it's a wonderful feeling. I wanna hug, for it helps away the healing. Wanna hug, 'cause hugging feels like the natural thing to do. Give me a hug.
Thank you.
And that's apparently based on a true story.
Written by a wonderful songwriter called Fred Small. Well, we're coming up to our final song for this afternoon. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Ange and all the crew here at NEURUM Creek for inviting us along. Such a lovely thing. And thank you, of course, to you for coming along and having a listen this afternoon. It's much nicer with an audience. Thank you. And of course, a huge, huge thank you to our wonderful sound crew, Dave and Mark.
Great work.
Mark doing an amazing job on front of house there. Thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you either. Definitely not.
Well, we're really hard with you off stage.
Yes, we never want to do that again. Well, we do of course have CDs up the back with Mark in the amazing jester hat, and we've got a couple of albums. This final song we're going to sing for you is off our first album, and it's the first song that we ever played together. It's a love song. We played it at our wedding. How many years ago? 11 years ago now, coming up to 12.
You would have funked it, eh?
This is a little song called Lazy Lindsay. If you know the words, please sing along, and thank you once again. Cheers.
Will you gang to the Highlands of Lazy Lindsay? Will you gang to the Highlands with me? Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? My bride and my darling to be.
To gang to the Highlands with you, sir. Well, I dinna ken how that might be, for I ken the land that you live in, nor ken I the lad I'm gang with.
Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? Will you gang to the Highlands with me? Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? My bride and my darling to be. No lazy lass, you maun ken little. If say be a dinna ken me, for my name 'tis Lord Ronald MacDonald, and I'm a chieftain o' highest degree. Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? Will you gang to the Highlands with me? Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? My bride and my darling to be. Now you are the fairest young maiden, you're the pride of the lowland country, and I'll gie you a hand, Lazy Lindsay, and a true heart that loves only thee. Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? Will you gang to the Highlands with me? Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? My bride and my darling to be. So she's kilted her coats of green satin, she's kilted them over her knee, and she's off with Lord Ronald MacDonald, his bride and his darling to be. Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? Will you gang to the Highlands with me? Will you gang to the Highlands, Lazy Lindsay? My bride and my darling to be. My bride and my darling to be.
Thank you very much.
Rebecca Wright and Donald McKAY. Wasn't that wonderful? I'm lucky to have them as friends, but you're lucky to be able to sit and listen to this. This is beautiful. Recently the ABC did a survey of most popular instruments, and the cello won, didn't it? The most popular instrument in Australia.